To understand, perceive the intended meaning of words, a language, or speaker. He didn't understand a word I said. People are always going to view you through the lens of their own experiences. What might be viewed in one way to one person could be viewed completely different to another. I think most of us have probably been in a situation before where, in a group setting, one person has said something and each person present has interpreted it quite different. What one could have viewed as a friendly remark, another could take as a sarcastic comment, and so on. Only the commenter knows their true intentions with regards to what they were saying, and even with further explanation of that, it can still be very much open to interpretation. We all crave human connection, and so, of course, understanding is important to us. If you've ever met someone who you feel really gets you, you'll know how gratifying that can feel. I find when I'm around people like that, it allows me to be my truest, most authentic self without fear of judgment. It's not that I'm not me when I'm around other people, it's just that I feel like I'm most me when I'm around those who I know truly get me. Of course, it's not going to feel like that with everyone. I'm sure most of us have experienced meeting someone new and for whatever reason, you haven't quite felt like you've meshed or you've been fully able to get each other. Sometimes words can simply feel lost in translation. You're speaking the same language and yet you don't quite feel understood. For the longest time, I thought being as clear and concise as possible would solve this problem. Articulating my words would be a sure way to make everyone understand exactly what I'm saying. In fact, I found myself fretting over emails and text messages, and seemingly irrelevant interactions would be replayed in my mind for fear of being misinterpreted, trying so hard to leave little room for open interpretation. Ambiguophobia could be a good way to describe it. It's an emotion invented by writer David Foster Wallace. I found this on Google, to describe the discomfort that one feels in leaving something open for interpretation by others. Exhausting is what I call it, and so I decided to change. They say the best way to overcome a fear is to face it. So I began saying no without fear of explaining why, being more to the point without giving a backstory for fear of it not making sense, and I stopped ruminating over interactions in which I felt unsure of how I'd come across, and it helped a lot. I realised not much changed except how I showed up and felt about things, and actually I felt a lot better. Generally, if people want further explanation, they'll ask. I've also come to realise that occasionally people can project, leading to misunderstandings. It's when someone subconsciously attributes their own thoughts, feelings, desires, or characteristics onto someone else as a defence mechanism to protect themselves from uncomfortable thoughts or feelings. We can all be guilty of it from time to time. For instance, imagine someone who lacks confidence. When they receive a compliment, they might doubt its sincerity because of their own insecurities, so they misunderstand the compliment thinking it's insincere when actually the person meant it genuinely. Of course, not everybody who misunderstands you is projecting, but it's just another example of where sometimes being misunderstood can't be helped, even in the simplest of instances. And so, even with or without great explanation, at times people will still misunderstand you, so there's no point threatening about what's out of your control. I think the most important thing we can do is try to understand ourselves. I think in scenarios where we haven't felt understood, at times it can be easy to feel alone or isolated, especially if we feel like the odd one out. But not everyone is going to get us, and that's okay. Actually, through self-reflection and identifying our own values and what's important to us, it allows us to show up more authentically as ourselves, and in turn, it enables us to attract more of those people into our lives who do understand us. The same can be said for the things that we make too. Fear of being misunderstood can halt us creatively and stop us from showing up in the world in the way that we want to. It's not up to us to decide how someone interprets our art or the things we share, as scary as that can feel at times. In fact, one of the wonderful things about putting your art, work, or creations out into the world is that someone can interpret it in a way that might be different to your intention, but is still meaningful in some way to them. It's in this that I think others can show us special parts of ourselves or what we create that maybe even we didn't realise was there. And when you look at it like that, that's actually quite beautiful.